Welcome back, everyone, to the Conti and Nick podcast. I'm Will Nicholson, and as always, I have the wonderful Gino Conti with me, talking some sports today.
Yeah, so today is going to be a little bit of a hybrid episode. So we're going to start off talking some football, and we're going to transition into some NBA basketball. It's going to be more of a Boston-orientated episode today, I'd say. I mean, talk about Patriots needs and talk about the Celtics, I'd say. So if you're from Boston, I think that you'd find this one a bit intriguing. Before we start, Will, I'd just like to say that it is imperative, it's crucial that we immediately get a third mic on the show, because it seems as though Will Nicholson has a family member who would like to aggressively challenge me.
Shout out Connor Brown. I know he wants to get on the episode pretty bad. Yeah, but how many people have you had talk to you about getting on the pod?
Honestly, I've had about 2 to 5 people.
I've been around the same. So a third mic, it's going to be coming. We're going to get some guests on the show. We're going to be talking about some stuff. Hope you guys stick around and enjoy the episode.
Connor, I've never met you before, but I'm looking forward to this. I want you to be the first guest on this pod. Okay, so we're going to start off with some Patriots talk here, what they should be going for, some sleeper picks, who they really should be aiming at. I believe that Will has a few players he would like to list off. I have some as well. Nicholson, you want to go first?
Yeah, so one of the first guys that has been really intriguing in this whole draft, because he's moved up the boards to being maybe like a late first rounder, to at least being a mid first rounder. People are even saying maybe top 20, top 25 for him. It's Kadarius Toney. And it's funny because most of this guy's like hype, I feel like, came from the Kyle Pitts film review, because everyone's looking at that Florida team and going, oh, Kyle Pitts. And when you watch more of it, you start to see this Toney kid wearing number 1, who's just so electric. He's fast.
Absolutely.
He runs into people too. Like, he is a hard runner.
He is.
He's a little bit undersized, I'd say.
Yeah.
Maybe one of a smaller wide receiver, but I think that he's going to be one of the guys. I'll make this prediction too, because I'm pretty confident in him. He's going to be one of the guys that we look back in this draft and go, oh, he should have been top 15.
How did we not see this guy? You know?
And he's flown under the radar because this is such a deep draft with the wide receivers. You have Jamar Chase, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Devontae Smith, and then you have
Rashad Bateman, Terence Marshall.
You have guys like
Tutu
that.
Atwell.
Yeah, I think this draft is undeniably one of the better drafts we've had this year. Easily.
Especially in the wide receiver.
The wide receiver, pass catchers in general. Yeah, so I think Kadarius Toney is going to be one of the guys in the draft where you're going to go, oh my God, a team nailed him with a pick. The second guy I have, I think he's maybe less of a sleeper, but he's definitely flown up draft boards. I have J.C. Horn as kind of a sleeper guy.
Yep.
Because the big corner for this draft has been Patrick Surtain and Caleb Farley. Those are the two big ones. But if you watch even the highlights, just watch J.C. Horn play. He plays big. He plays physical. He's a very big, like, one-on-one lockdown corner type guy. And that's a corner that so many teams would need. He could fall to the Patriots, which I would love that pick too. But I'm seeing him rise even more to maybe even, like, Denver taking him.
You and I both had San Diego taking him. So I'm sorry, Los Angeles. The Chargers.
I still get that messed up.
I do too.
he would be a great corner for that team. I actually think that the Chargers are probably going to jump back and trade back in the draft. Maybe get some late offensive linemen. I like Darisaw, the big offensive lineman, the guard. So I think that whatever team gets J.C. Horn, though, is getting a lockdown corner. And I think in the right system, in the right defense, he'd be an amazing piece. Like,
Absolutely.
Send him to one of the big defenses. I don't think, like, in Arizona, I don't think he'd really work. But if you send him to Denver, you send him to New England. If he somehow falls to the fucking Bears.
And on the Bears, he would be perfect. I mean, you know how Chicago is with that defense. They're always fast, physical, flying to the ball, like hard-nosed, punch you right in the mouth. That's how Chicago is. That's how Chicago fans like their football, and they won't accept it any other way. So, I mean, if J.C. Horn would happen to fall to Chicago, that would be a perfect fit. I think it'd be a natural glove in.
Yeah, he's a natural guy for the Bears to draft too. Like, I feel like every team has some guy that they draft, or a position that they draft well, and a position that they draft not so well. Like, the Bears can't draft a quarterback. The Jets can't draft, period. New England isn't really good at drafting wide receivers.
Yeah, We have N'Keal Harry.
Like,
That's N'Keal Harry. That's our primary source.
But yeah, those are my sleepers. My big ones. But I'm looking to see what you got for sleepers.
Okay, so you and I, we both have Kadarius Toney, and you pretty much touched up on everything. One thing I really do want to add is he's so versatile as well. He can do end arounds, he can do like handoffs, he can even do kick returns and punt returns. So that makes him like an absolute like Swiss Army knife on the offense. I won't dive too much more into him because you covered him and you did a pretty good damn job covering him. So Asante Samuel Jr., cornerback out of Florida State, is my next guy. A lot of people have him as the 4th ranked corner, but I think honestly, if he was taller, because that's really his knock, he's 5'9", he would be the best cornerback in this draft. I mean, this guy was born and bred to play football. I mean, his father, Asante Samuel, was a very damn good corner and a former New England Patriot. So I think that him growing up in that environment, him learning the game, the ins and outs, the X's and O's like it's no other person like on this earth. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you know what I'm trying to say. I mean, I think that he plays big too, and I think that his technique and his like aggression and him being able to play big, because you have to be physical, you have to be a pit bull in order to be a cornerback if you are short. And I think that honestly, Asante Samuel Jr. will be a steal because just because he's short doesn't mean he can't play. I mean, that guy can play. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I haven't seen much of him, so I'm interested to see what he'll end up doing. Where do they have him? Maybe like a late first round, second round guy?
They could say second or third round
second
guy.
Or third.
Second
okay.
or third is kind of his draft positioning.
Yeah, this like I said before, this draft is so very deep. It's crazy.
Yeah, so my next guy, I have Ramondre Stevenson. I think that Ramondre Stevenson, I'm sorry, he's a running back out of Oklahoma. I think that Ramondre...
Oh, fuck, there's a mouse.
Yeah. What the hell?
Oh my god! Well, folks, we apologize for the interruption. I think that just proves that anything can happen in Conti and Nick. If you couldn't tell by the audio, there was a mouse that just ran by, and I saw it in the other room. And I was like, oh, well, we got to stop the podcast and take care of that. It was taken care of.
If you couldn't tell by the loud, oh, fuck, there's a mouse.
I thought that was a pretty good tell.
There's your explanation.
But, yeah, I guess we'll segue back into the podcast.
Where to begin, huh? Oh, okay. So I believe that I was talking about running back Ramondre Stevenson, and
yes.
I really running back out of Oklahoma, and I really didn't get into my description of him. So let me break it down again. So he is an absolute tank of a runner. Okay, this guy hits the open gap with ferocity. I mean, he'll meet tacklers head on, one-on-one. This guy is not afraid to put his shoulder down and absolutely run you over. Sounds pretty familiar, right? One of the best running backs in the league, Derrick Henry. Yeah. So, I mean, he is a little bit on the short side. I mean, him being 6 foot. So, I mean, he's not really the biggest guy on earth. But definitely, I mean, he doesn't really need the height. I mean, I think that's a common theme with a lot of, like, the guys that we have that are underrated. They're short, but they're very good football players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've seen players like that succeed, too. I mean, Tyreek Hill is not the biggest guy at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Tyreek Hill went, what, the 5th round?
Yeah, fifth, 6th round.
That's insane to me, how he went that low. Yeah, there's a lot of players. Where do you have him ranked in the running backs? Because I know it's Najee Harris and
Travis Etienne.
Yes, Etienne, and then
Chuba Hubbard's a really good one. I forget his name's blanking on me. There's a really good guy out of Memphis. There's 2 really good guys out of North Carolina, UNC.
Yeah.
And one real quick thing. So I have him ranked about like the 5th or 6th, which is crazy to me because I mean, given the situation he's put in, this guy can be a lead back in the NFL. Or, I mean, regardless of what you're looking for or whatever, he's a good power back. So he can just be like a rotation guy who can be given like a compliment, say, if you have more of a receiving back. I mean, I really think this guy, like, sky's the limit for him.
Yeah. One more guy I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you had or not, but he just came to mind. I don't know why I forgot him. The LSU receiver, Terence Marshall.
Yeah.
I feel like he probably is going to be a 2nd rounder to me.
Yep.
But I think he's going to be one of the guys where depending on what team he goes to, he could succeed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that could be a guy where, like, if he falls to, like, like Kansas City
Yeah.
in the second round, or if he falls to Tampa in the second round,
You're in trouble.
You're in trouble, and that's where you see players like the Scotty Millers that are in there to fill the gaps. So he could definitely be a sleeper. People forget about him because they see that LSU receiving core from a couple of years ago. You have Justin Jefferson, you have Jamar Chase, Thaddeus Moss,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah,
and even though he's a running back, I mean, he can receive.
Yeah, offensive weapon. Everyone forgets that Terence Marshall was on that team, and because Joe Burrow and all those guys are like at LSU, they weren't as good of a team. But Terence Marshall still balled out this year. So
yeah, Terence Marshall definitely can make an impact on the team if he's put in the right situation. So I do have one more guy. So I had 2 offense and 2 defense. So this is one guy, the other on the defensive side of the ball. His name is Quincy Roaches, defensive end out of Miami. So in Miami, he was more of a defensive end, but I'd say he's more of a 3-4, which is a 3-down lineman and 4 linebackers. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker, which means he'd probably be on the edge in like a 5 technique on the outside shade of an offensive tackle. I'm trying to explain football knowledge to those who it might not understand like that. Don't make you guys sound stupid. But so he was forced to play in a 3-point stance, and I really think that hindered his explosiveness. I really think that made him a player and kind of limited him. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I think if you stand him up, if you just let him come, not even in a 2-point stance, just let him stand straight up, explode off the ball, and just rush and bull rush the quarterback and reestablish a line of scrimmage and make plays in the backfield, I think he could be a very big impact player. The one knock that I do have on him, it's not his height, it's his athleticism. If you put him in an elusive back, on an elusive back, I'd say about 9 times out of 10 he's going to lose that battle. So he's more of a run stuffer, not really like a pass guy or somebody who you can depend on like a linebacker to kind of cover the wheel route. Maybe if you put him up against a slower tight end, he would do all right and he'd be able to be acceptable. But I really don't see him any other way other than more of a bull rush type of guy. So that's really what I have.
Yeah, that's another good pick too. With those sleepers in mind, I think we can transition a little bit to some Patriots talk. Do you have any more guys?
No. So honestly, I think these 4 guys that I just listed, like Tony, Asante Samuel, Ramondre Stevenson, and Quincy Roaches, I think that in a way, all 4 of these guys fit the need for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Do they not? I mean, because I'll go over them again real quick. Tony, I mean, he can play pretty much almost any position on offense, which means he's multi-dimensional. He can do whatever you ask him to do. That's what Bill Belichick needs, and that's what Bill Belichick loves to coach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you have Asante Samuel. I mean, Stephon Gilmore is in the last year of his contract. J.C. Jackson got the tender, which means he's only guaranteed to be here pending any contracts that go on in the future. So he's only guaranteed to be here another year. Jonathan Jones, I wouldn't really hitch the wagon on. and at the current time of recording, Joe Juan Williams has done next to nothing. So, I mean, I really think Asante Samuel would be a good fit there because, like I said, he's a very good football player. It's just that he's short, and Bill does very good at playing you to your strengths and hiding your deficiencies. I think Ramondre Stevenson would actually be a good pick for the Patriots too, because I think that ever since LeGarrette Blount, they really haven't had that power back presence, and I think the running game was really at its peak when they had a rotation with the receiving guy like White, when they had just an all-around guy like Shane Vereen, even though he was a good receiving back as well. And then when you had a power back like LeGarrette Blount. And I think if you add Ramondre Stevenson to that mix, I think you would have White who can receive, Sony Michel who can do it all, Damian Harris who is a very good runner as well, and Ramondre Stevenson who is a pure running back, a pure power running back, put his shoulder down, and that would be excellent. I think with Quincy Roaches, I mean, once again, Bill Belichick does fantastic with defensive linemen, and he knows how to put them in the best spots, to their strengths. I think that if he's able to recognize, he's able to diagnose what he needs to do, and if he's able to put people, put Quincy Roaches in his best spot as more of an outside linebacker, I mean, you have Judon, you have Winovich, who should be stepping up to the plate. Lawrence Guy's excellent. Kyle Van Noy's back. Uche should take a step up. I think that Quincy Roaches would be a great, great second-round pick.
Yeah, I feel like people are really sleeping, too, on the Patriots' defense, how good they're going to be this year.
Yep.
So many weapons already there, and you have guys who were drafted a couple of years ago, like Uche and Winovich, and then you throw another guy into the mix. You go and get Judon, and
Oh my God,
Jalen Mills.
Judon's going to be so good.
Yeah, you have yourself a team, and especially the Jalen Mills, I think, was more or less a safety net for J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
But I think they're saying he might play a little bit more like out of the box as like a safety. So,
Jalen Mills is one of those versatile people
Yeah.
because he can play corner and he can play safety.
Yeah.
Patrick Chung retiring, I mean, you think you'd have a little bit more depth there, but then Patrick Chung retired kind of as like a surprise out of nowhere. So I mean, he's going to be kind of put in a spot where he needs to play safety, and I think that's going to be a good spot for him because he got burnt a little bit on double moves when he was at Philadelphia, when he was strictly as a corner, and when they moved him more to a safety, he was able to survey the field, look at the field, not let anything behind him, and that's where he really showed his strength. But he also can play corner, so he gives him that versatility, which is what Bill Belichick loves.
Yeah, Patriots are all about versatility. That being said, with kind of the guys that might go in the later round, I want to come back because obviously this is the highest draft pick the Patriots have had in a while. With the 15th year, do you think the Patriots will go quarterback? Do you think they're going to trade up with Carolina? I know Carolina wanted to trade back. I just got a notification on my phone too, so I'll pull that up real quick. Cowboys unlikely to trade up. So that means Kyle Pitts is probably off the boards, which means they're probably not going to go offense. They're probably going to go corner, which, might...
Surtain.
Yeah, Surtain probably, which will probably leave quarterbacks on the board that late, depending on which one, if the Patriots want to trade up. So what are your thoughts on what they should do with that 15th pick?
So I really don't think that... I mean, I brought this up in our first episode of the podcast. I mean, if you have Justin Fields sitting there and you have Micah Parsons, let's just say, sitting there, Bill Belichick, we've been Patriots fans all of our lives. Who is Bill Belichick gonna take? Let's be real.
He would ride with Micah Parsons.
He would.
100%.
He would be with Micah Parsons because that is a guy he can coach. You know what I mean? One of his biggest success. I wouldn't say he owes, like Lawrence Taylor owes all of his success to Bill Belichick, but in the 80s when Lawrence Taylor was playing, Bill Belichick was like the guy, the defensive coach there, and like Lawrence Taylor really thrived under him. And believe me, I am not by any means saying Micah Parsons is going to be LT. I hate the thing when you compare these people to legends. Yeah. So I'm just bringing him up as an example. I think that Bill Belichick will take very good care of Micah Parsons, coach him well, coach him right, and Micah Parsons will be a hell of a pick, and he'll be a hell of a player because, like we said, all the players that are there, like Judon and Winnow and whatnot, they're going to draw so much defensive attention anyways that allows Micah Parsons, an already excellent talent, to thrive.
Yeah, I think Micah Parsons would fit perfectly too because you just let Micah Parsons be Micah Parsons, right?
Yeah. Fast
dude, runs like a 4.4 for a linebacker. Dude is incredibly fast, and you just let him fly around the field at the outside linebacker position. Let him make tackles. That's what he does best.
Absolutely.
Maybe a blitzing linebacker. I will say though too, I agree that in the past the Patriots have not even really used their picks. We kind of trade them back to get more later round picks.
Yep.
And change those later round picks into great players. I will say though that we have seen a Patriots offseason that has been unlike any offseason we've ever had before.
I agree.
We've never been aggressive in free agency, and we've never really targeted things that are obvious that we need to fix, right?
Yeah.
We got players that we thought were good, right? This year, Gronk still left that void. You go out, you get two tight ends.
Juanu Smith and Hunter Henry.
Yep. You don't know what the deal is going to be with J.C. Jackson. We still don't really know what we're doing with Gilmore. Odds are he's probably going to stay, but you don't really know for sure. You go out, you get Jalen Mills, you get a versatile guy. You go out, you get Judon to help that linebacker help. We didn't have Hightower, but now we're getting Hightower back.
He's coming back.
Yeah, so you just add more depth, really, because now you can put, like Alan Roberts.
Landon Roberts?
Landon Roberts.
He's on the Dolphins now, my friend.
Oh, he is?
Or he got released. No, it's all good. Don't worry
he
about it.
played last year, didn't he?
No. He was on the Dolphins last year.
Who's that linebacker I'm thinking of? I'm blanking so bad.
The linebacker, so there's Uche, there's
Not
Judon,
Uche.
Hightower, Juwan Bentley.
Yes,
Juwan Bentley.
Juwan Bentley is who I
Don't worry.
meant.
Don't worry.
But our linebackers have been all over the place the past couple of years. So you move a guy like Bentley to maybe the bench and, let someone like Micah thrive. I think that Micah would be a great pick, right, for the Patriots.
I think so.
However, we've never had an offseason like this, and we've never needed a quarterback as much as we do right now, which leads me to believe that the Patriots might take a quarterback in the first
If
round.
Justin Fields is gonna fall,
let him fall to the Patriots. No, I do think if Justin Fields is sitting there would be a chance that Bill would consider Justin Fields, right? They've gone to his pro days. I think Bill has even said that he likes what Fields brings to the table. So I would love to have Justin Fields here. I also wouldn't be surprised if we made a trade with Carolina. It's such an unconventional Patriot thing to do, but this has been an unconventional Patriot offseason.
I see, and I understand completely what you're saying, but I don't see it. I really don't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, because if you think about it, like Bill Belichick, as quiet of a guy as he is, like as short of a guy as he is, like in meaning like with the media, you know what I'm trying to say? Like he'll just be like, it's whatever. You know, just give answers like that. He has an ego. Do you know what I mean? And I like to think that Bill Belichick thinks that he can control, and he kind of will see the team and he'll be like, I can work with this. I like my expert coaching ability will be able to make up for our deficiencies. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I think that Bill thinks that he can do a lot with a little.
Yes.
And I think he's proved he can do a lot with a little, right?
Yes.
I think he's able to coach guys that, you know, I saw in a documentary a while back. I think it was the comeback, the Atlanta documentary for that Super Bowl. It was saying that Bill Belichick doesn't have all pros, but his players are all pros.
Yeah. No, that's a great play on words, and it's true. You know what I mean? But let me just tell you this right now. If you trade up to get a quarterback, if you're Bill Belichick, that is basically like saying Bill Belichick needs you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's saying it without saying it. Do you really believe that Bill Belichick and his ego will ever, as long as he lives, as long as he coaches, even if he goes off and ventures to another team someday, do you really think he will ever be in a position where he says he needs a guy, he is desperate for a guy? Even if it's right there for the taking, do you really think he will even say, hey, listen, we need you here? Or do you think Bill is going to do what he does and take the cheap route? And I love Cam Newton, one of my favorite all-time players.
I like Cam too.
He's not what he once was, clearly. Okay, or do you think he's going to be no, I'm going to build around Cam, and I'm going to make Cam look like what he once was?
See, here's the thing. I don't think that Bill is ever going to go out and say, oh, I need that guy. But I will pitch the scenario real quick, right? So we know the top two, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, right?
Unfortunately, Zach Wilson. Then you get number 3, looking like it's going to be Mac Jones, right?
Yep. Let's say Atlanta doesn't take a quarterback, and then Miami's definitely not going to take a quarterback. Cincinnati won't. Let's say Detroit doesn't even go quarterback, which I don't think they will. And then you're sitting at that number 8 spot, and Carolina wants to trade back. You know, let's say Bill really likes Trey Lance, right?
Yep.
Really likes him. And with him going up and getting Trey Lance, I don't think that's really Bill saying, oh, I need Trey Lance. Because we've both said Trey Lance is a bridge guy, right? He's going to be your backup quarterback, and he's going to take the reins one day. And I think that would be a very Bill Belichick move, in my opinion. If you trade up, but you don't trade up for one of these superstars, you don't trade up for Justin Fields, you're not getting one of the big name quarterbacks, but you go get the kid who shows extreme maturity from South Dakota, and you pick him up, you put him on the team, you teach him the offense, and then he goes and takes the offense while you still build around Cam. And we still have a lot of picks in this draft. We have
a good amount. Yeah.
10, I think, tied for the second most.
Yeah.
So you have picks all around. So I think moving up for a quarterback here it doesn't seem desperate. You know what I mean? I think it just seems like you're trying to plan for the future while also keeping Cam Newton. And I think Trey Lance is a perfect guy for that. It seems perfect, right, at number 8?
I mean, I would like it. Do you know what I mean? I would like it.
It might be a little bit of a fever dream.
Yeah, I really do hate to disagree with you, but I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just
it's a wild stretch. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's very un-Patriot.
I'm not saying I personally know Bill Belichick, but do you know what I'm saying? I have been a fan long enough to know what he is and what he isn't going to do. And you're right by saying this offseason is not what he usually does. But at the same time, like I said, to me, knowing Bill Belichick's ego at least, I think him moving up for somebody is basically saying, hey, you are the piece that, you know what I mean, that I need, that we need as a team. and that's just not him. Like, I think a much more likely scenario would be to move. I'm sorry, not to move back. Would be to take Micah Parsons, or maybe like just whatever defensive player that he likes. Maybe that like pertains moving back, but in the first round and moving out of the first round, maybe, or like late in the first round, and taking, like I said, whatever defensive player, and then maybe just taking a guy like Kyle Trask, like Kellen Mond in the second round. I think the guy Stanford's name is Davis Mills, who is another guy, and I think that's another one that's pretty slept on as well, who I failed to mention. I think that's more of a Bill Belichick thing because, I mean, look at 2014. Like, as much as Dominic Easley was a bust, remember that pick, Dominic Easley?
I do.
The defensive tackle?
Yeah.
That's really the principle, that's really the draft strategy that he followed. He took the defensive guy that he thought was going to be good, and then in the second round he waited and he took Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I do agree Bill loves his defensive guys, but over even recent history, we have seen offensive players go in the first round, right? We've seen Sony Michel, N'Keal Harry, and I think we can both agree and on the same page. Those are both pretty bad misses, right?
I don't think Sony Michel's that bad. I really don't.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Sony.
I hear you, but I'm not sold.
We have seen offensive players go early, though, and I know it seems crazy, right? It seems crazy, but I mean, if you told me at the beginning of this offseason how aggressive Bill Belichick would be, I wouldn't think you were telling the truth.
You would have slapped me right in the face.
Yeah. So this came out of nowhere, but here's the thing, right? I think we're not used to having this many draft picks.
No, not at all.
Like, we're going crazy about the 15th pick, right?
Yeah,
haven't had it in years.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
And that goes to show about this draft as well. Like, seriously, anything can happen, and it's insane. One thing I do want to touch upon with Sony Michel real quick, I think that we are spoiled as football fans. I mean, look at like the high draft picks that have turned out to be elite, and I would say like Saquon Barkley, he is elite even though he's coming off an injury. When Ezekiel Elliott is elite. Like, I don't like all of shit that he's been given because fumbling and everything. Everybody knew he was getting the ball. Like, when Ben DiNucci is your quarterback and Ezekiel Elliott's in the backfield, all 11 guys are going to blitz Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
It's that simple. When that guy actually has, like, a quarterback, he's elite. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little, like, ancient history far back, but AP in 2007, that was an elite pick as a high, like, pick running back. I think we're spoiled as fans because most of the time, even though, like, it's consensus that you don't really take the running back high, you still, most of the time, come out with a good guy. Like Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon's good. And I think Sony Michel is an average running back. And I think a lot of people, because of, like, the oversaturation of elite people being taken that high, I think we're starting to say he sucks.
Yeah. See, like, the thing with Sony Michel is I didn't think that Sony Michel was going to be some crazy game-changing running back taken in the first round, right? I thought he'd be good, but personally, I think we have better running backs on our roster than him. I think Damian Harris is better.
Harris is good.
Yeah,
I
and
like him.
Shout out to Colin Ames because he's been riding with Damian Harris
dude.
for so long, and I respect it.
Yeah, Colin Ames was a huge... I tried to offer him Robert Tonyan for Damian Harris, and that man read me the riot act. I thought I was going to be crucified on the cross. Jesus.
The thing with Damian Harris, though, I think with Damian Harris is I think he's more of that New England style running back because he's fast, right?
He's
Harris is fast. He's a workhorse, and he just runs into people. He runs through people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's more New England than kind of like this more elusive guy in the backfield that isn't able to be a wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
Because James White, yeah, he's elusive, sweet feet White, but he plays more of a receiving back, right?
Yeah.
Where Sony Michel is like, oh, give me the ball and I'll be elusive. I don't really think that works with the Patriots.
Yeah, and you know something too? Like, as weird as it sounds, James White, I don't think worked with Cam Newton. Do you agree with that? So, it's weird.
A little strange, right?
And it's so strange because you know he was on Carolina. And who the hell's Carolina's running back? And they were awesome.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I think the difference with that is McCaffrey can be a workhorse, right?
Yeah.
Like McCaffrey can be that guy who, like, give me the ball, get out of the way. I really don't think that Sony Michel is that type of guy.
Or James White.
James White, sorry.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know with the New England running backs. I feel like we have better picks.
Yeah.
But back to the draft, I guess. I could really, and I'm dead serious. I could see a scenario where the Patriots trade up because we're not used to having as many picks as we do, and trading up with, let's say we throw our 15th pick, a second and a third, could move up with Carolina to number 8. I think that's a good trade. For a future quarterback, you don't need to start him now. You play him in preseason. You let him back up Cam Newton for like a year, and then maybe he takes the reins. I mean, great quarterbacks do that. Patrick Mahomes had to sit behind Alex Smith, so who knows?
So I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Well, I don't see it.
I don't blame you. It's crazy, but I'm kind of ready for a crazy offseason.
I know. Well, you already kind of have it. Yeah. But so one thing I do want to ask. I mean, I don't know if you've heard. I mean, it's probably not going to happen. It probably is like a pipe dream. But I've heard some stuff about us giving Green Bay the 15th pick.
I've seen so much with this.
Yeah, and us moving to, I believe, the 29th pick. Was it?
Green Bay.
Yeah, with Green Bay, and giving them a second and a fourth. So we would give up the 15th pick. We would give up a second and a fourth, and we would get the 29th pick from Green Bay. And their first-round pick last year, quarterback Jordan Love. I like that better than taking Lance. I do. I like that better than moving up. I do.
I hate to say it. I couldn't disagree with you.
You don't hate to say it.
No, you're right. No, but see, I saw that, and first of all, I think people underestimate how many trades teams actually try and make. That trade is never going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen.
That's why I said I think it's a pipe dream.
Yeah, Jordan Love. Do you like Jordan Love? I gotta ask.
I do.
Oh,
I do. I like him. I do.
I really don't. I think that he's your average late first-round quarterback. I think he's going to probably be a backup for a while, maybe his whole career. He doesn't seem like he can be the guy, right? Played at Utah State and really didn't have a good senior season at all. And he came into the draft, and Green Bay picked him, and we were like, "Oh, what is that? Like, why didn't they get a wide receiver?" And I still agree with that. He just sat behind Aaron Rodgers, and if now that they're looking to trade him, it kind of shows that, first of all, it shows that Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be in Green Bay the rest of his career. Mm-hmm. If this is a real thing that they're trying to do, right? But I don't think this trade is going to happen. I especially don't think that Bill is going to trade for Jordan Love when he can take Trey Lance, who can be like his guy.
I mean, think about it, though. If you're going to sit behind somebody, who do you want to sit behind? Like Aaron Rodgers. Like, with the exception of Brady, true. You want to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, right?
That's very true.
And I think that the Green Bay Packers, I mean, their fan base has heard so much. Because, I mean, listen, I think if Jordan Love does stay in Green Bay, I think, like, with Matt LaFleur's offensive system and the weapons and the team that they build around him, they have a very run-first orientated offense. And then, like, they have, like, actually good receivers. But, I think Jordan Love will be good. But
I didn't mean to shoot Jordan Love down so much.
No, you're good.
Good. I think he could be a good quarterback in the right system, but I just think Trey Lance is way more talented.
I hear you. I mean, and to be fair, they were both considered, like, coming out. They're both considered, like, developmental guys. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I do get what you're saying. I like Jordan Love. And I can't tell you why. Like most of the time, like
it's the underdog. It's the underdog mentality.
Dude, most of the time, I can give you a reason why I like something or I feel like a certain way that a lot, like when it pertains to a take, some people disagree with.
Yeah.
I just look at him and I'm like, I like what you bring to the table.
Maybe it's how like unconventional it is that Green Bay took a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what? People don't like him. He's gonna do it.
Yeah. No. And the thing is, like, I think that, like, going back to real quickly what I was saying, I didn't really make my point. I think that Green Bay, like, is hearing their fan base, and they're hearing, like, everything, like, around the NFL Network, around, like, the league, and they're hearing all the scrutiny. Why didn't you get something for Rodgers? And you agree with that, right? Like, why didn't you get something for Rodgers?
I agree. Yeah.
So I think if you put yourself in the 15th pick in the 15th position, you're giving yourself a chance to take one of those pass catchers. Because, I mean, let's be real. I have this thing where, like, the league is horny for offense now, right?
Yeah.
And I hate it, but, I mean, it is what it is. It's happening.
Everyone wants that big offensive shiny player.
Yeah.
Sells tickets.
Yeah, and I think that these guys, Marshall, Bateman, maybe even Tutu Atwell, Kadarius Toney, I think that these people are going to, like, go up and be reached for by some of these teams instead of falling, like, in their draft spot where they really should be falling in, they should be projected. I think that Green Bay is afraid of that, and they finally want to commit themselves to getting somebody who can help out Aaron Rodgers in the long run. Aaron Rodgers has thrown two career passes to first-round talent. Want to know who they were?
I actually have no idea. Who are they?
Last year, Tavon Austin. Two career completions.
Insane.
And he was a 2013 first-round bust. Okay?
That's insane.
And I think that Green Bay.
I actually didn't know that. That's absurd.
It's absurd.
That shows how good Aaron Rodgers is.
Yes,
right?
and I mean, listen, hot take: Aaron Rodgers better than Patrick Mahomes right now. Right now.
I see that. I don't think that's a super hot take, right? Because Mahomes is talented, but I think the experience with Rodgers has to play a part, right?
Yeah.
They both lost to Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers put up a better fight, if anything, against that Buccaneers defense.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, you looked at how Aaron Rodgers faced Tampa Bay. That was actually going to be my point. Thank you. But, like, how like, they both faced Tampa Bay. Aaron Rodgers put up a much more, like, convincing fight. Patrick Mahomes, like, yes, he missed his 2 tackles, but he was missing, what's his name, David Bakhtiari, Aaron Rodgers was. His left tackle, he, like, tore his ACL the week before they faced Tampa Bay.
Yep.
That was a crushing loss. And you know what? That was a game until, like, the last minutes of the fourth quarter.
Aaron Rodgers is still talented, and if you don't think so, you're wrong.
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 All right, so that was a good talk about football, but ladies and gentlemen, it's time to transition to basketball. And folks, this is a topic of discussion that might piss off a lot of Celtics fans, and you know what? I am completely okay with it. The question is that we want to bring to the table and we want to address to you guys and we want to have you guys answer. Is Brad Stevens a good fit for the Celtics long term? And you know what? Hell no, he's not. Okay? Brad Stevens was a good coach to get this team off the ground. He was a very good team builder. This man was able to bring us from only 1 year missing the playoffs in 2013. And you know what? Everyone loved him. And he, at one point, unfortunately, he was getting comparisons to Greg Popovich. They were saying, who's the best coach in the league, Brad or Greg Pop?
Spurs of the East.
Yeah, exactly. They were being called the Spurs of the East. And you know what? Looking back in 2021, that couldn't be any further from the truth. I think that Brad Stevens is a very, very good X's and O's coach, but when it comes to galvanizing the troops and getting people in the locker room to invest and buy in, I don't think this man has the chops to do it. Do not let this hot streak that the Celtics are currently going on fool you. Please don't. Because right now what's happening, what you're seeing is Jason Tatum is playing out of his mind. Okay, that is what's leading to this. You can say, oh, Brad finally got the guy. No. Jason Tatum is playing out of his mind. And as much criticism, as much scrutiny as I give Jason Tatum, I will be the first man to give him credit as well. Brad Stevens, this man right now is drawing up X's and O's, whatever, but in terms of sitting back and just letting the guys do what they do and letting players step and walk all over him, I mean, he'd win Coach of the Year if that was what coaching was, right?
He would. All right, so here's my thing, right? I agree with you to an extent, okay? There's a couple things that I disagree with. First of all, I will say I think that Brad Stevens is a good fit. However, I think he has flaws that are being exposed this season. First of all, I do agree. I think Brad Stevens is a very good grit and grind, like the underdog coach, and he's kind of had to transition to this. I have to lead these young stars coach. However, I don't agree that he's a bad fit because this team is defense oriented, right? Brad's a defensive oriented coach. Think of the draft picks you have. You have Romeo Langford, can't really score. You get Grant Williams. This team was made...
Can't shoot. Semi Ojeleye.
Yeah, Semi Ojeleye. This team was made for defense, and I really think that Brad is a fantastic defensive coach. And, you know, the locker room stuff, you could argue that, right? He doesn't really get guys hyped up. But I also don't think that Jason Tatum is one of those guys who needs to be, hyped up in a way. I think Jason Tatum plays well either way. But on the defensive end, if you listen to some of the mic'd up stuff, Brad Stevens is yelling at them on defense to stay in the right position. I saw a clip where he's telling Robert Williams to stay on his feet. He's guarding a guard. I think Brad Stevens is a good coach in that sense. I think he's a great X's and O's coach. However, I do think in late game situations, he could do better. Right?
my God.
I went to the Celtics game last Saturday versus the Golden State Warriors.
Hell of a game.
A very, very, very good game. But you start to notice even more that in these late game situations, there's not really a game plan, right?
There's not.
In the fourth quarter, majority of it is give your star players the ball and get out of the way. And don't get me wrong, that is fantastic in the right situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus the Warriors, I don't think that's the right play, right? Obviously, Jason Tatum was red hot, and if you want to go that route, give it to Jason Tatum. But if you remember, the end of that game ended in a Kemba Walker isolation 3.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong,
Cardiac
he
Kemba.
made it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Kemba's getting way more flack than he should. I think Kemba is a great player. Maybe his fit in the Celtics is questionable, but he hit that 3 because he's a good player, right? I think there could have been a better play there. Especially, I will say, with Marcus Smart and Brad Stevens. Marcus Smart sometimes puts shots up in the fourth quarter and overtime where I'm like, why is Brad letting that happen, right?
Exactly.
That should not be a
my
play
issue.
that's taken.
That's my issue. And you know something, like, I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to bring it up, and it made this transition a lot easier.
I love Marcus Smart, too.
And here's the thing. I like, at one point, Marcus Smart was my favorite player in the NBA. Okay? But it seems as though, like, and let's be fair, his shooting has actually improved. Like, gradually every season, I think his shooting has actually, like, slightly improved.
I agree, it has.
I'd say he went from about a D shooter to about a C shooter. Is that fair?
I'd say maybe it's probably not a C+, but
Yeah. I'd say about, like, he's improved a full letter grade in terms of, like, like I'm talking 2K language here, but you know what I mean?
He can hit the wide open 3, but you don't want him doing anything that's slightly contested.
Exactly. And you know what? I think in terms of coaching, it is absolutely pitiful that Brad Stevens allows that to happen. Okay, like I said, great X's and O's guy. But how can you say, Marcus, I want you taking these dumb, fadeaway, contested, like, just chuck it up for 3 shots? Like, how can you, as an NBA coach, be able to evaluate your team and say that that is the best option?
See,
Again, if Jay... Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just saying that is the problem with having... Because they all say, right, Marcus Smart is the heart and soul of the Boston Celtics. Mm-hmm. And I would agree. But the only problem with that is... You know, you'll say that Marcus Smart will win you a game with a steal. He'll also almost lose you a game with his shooting. And I think that's the problem with having, like, the Marcus Smart, right? Specifically Marcus Smart. I would love if Marcus Smart played defense and took open shots, but he doesn't. And he makes great plays sometimes. He's a wild card. He really is a wild card. But I think that if maybe there was more of a game plan in the fourth quarter of running, like, an actual, like, play to try and get an open shot, rather than, okay, swing it, find a mismatch. Oh, Jason Tatum has a guy who's a subpar defender on him. Oh, let Jason Tatum go to work. That's a good play, but I feel like there's a better one.
Yes.
So, and I will relate this too really quick to other coaches. I'm gonna get his name so wrong. Was it Mark Jackson before Steve Kerr?
Mark Jackson before Steve Kerr.
Okay.
Yep, he's the ABC analyst or
yes,
TNT.
Mark Jackson is a great coach, right?
Yes.
He was a fantastic coach on the Warriors. Brought him back to the playoffs. However, bringing in Steve Kerr elevated that team, right? You go from good to great, and I feel like with Brad, his play calling could go from good to great, right? Jason Tatum on a subpar defender is a good play, but I feel like you get a great shot where you get a wide open 3, Kemba in the corner, something like that.
See, I understand, and yes, like, it's so tough because X's and O's, like, I'm going to repeat myself, but X's and O's, Brad Stevens actually is great. And there's not a lot of people who you would prefer over him than Brad Stevens. But that's when he wants to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we were talking about Marcus Smart taking stupid shots, but Jason Tatum, he's white hot right now. He's going off, and I gave him credit for that hot streak that they're on right now. But when they weren't on the hot streak at the beginning of this season, the 2020-2021 season, Jason Tatum was bad. I'm sorry, he wasn't bad, but his shot selection
was decent.
It was bad.
Yeah.
What he did was, and me and my friend Jake, shout out Big Jake Coleflush, we talk about this a lot, and we agree. We say that Jason Tatum, I hate to bring it up, ever since Kobe Bryant died, he's kind of trying to take over his play style. Do you not see, like, a little bit of resemblance in the shot taking in the fourth quarter of Kobe Bryant?
I disagree. I like where you're going with that, but I disagree with the motive to that, right? I do think that Jason Tatum's play style is kind of that ISO scorer, but I don't really put that to Kobe. I mean, he's always played like that. Kobe's his favorite player. I put more of the blame for that on actually Brad Stevens, because like, yeah, Jason Tatum's taking these shots, but it's like, what other option is there?
Well, so and what I was gonna say was, I think that yes, like the player is gonna do whatever he wants to do, and that's the coach's job, Brad Stevens, to step right in and say, hey, listen, like, I understand you're a superstar, I understand that you're a great and you're a hell of a player, but you're not like LeBron, you're not KD, okay? Like, you are a superstar.
I think Tatum could be an MVP too,
and he could be, but like, I'm talking like LeBron KD level, like, we're in terms of like MVP,
give them
like,
the ball and get out of the way, guys.
He's better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, like, those two are better. I think Jason Tatum is a superstar, but I don't think he's that level. And sometimes I think that he acts like he is. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's wrong, and I think the coach, Brad Stevens, is letting it happen. And that's what frustrates me so much. You know what I mean? Because I just see Brad, and I'm like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, there was, I forget what exact game it was, but there was a game where the Celtics played, and we lost by like a few. But Brad Stevens was like, yeah, we fought, you know what I mean? We were close within 3 at like one point in the game. I'm like, what mentality is that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What are you doing? Like, we were early in the game, like early in the season, we were losing to Detroit, to Cleveland, teams that were clearly like inferior. Okay, it's the coach's job to say, hey, listen, like, this team sucks. Like, we should beat them.
Yeah.
There's no excuse to lose.
I agree. I think we gave Doc Rivers a lot of credit last episode, right?
Yep, we did.
But I think that's why Doc Rivers is great, because he will say, we didn't play good, straight up. We did not play our best basketball, and that's why we lost. Where Brad Stevens is kind of like more of that XO guy, where it's like, oh yeah, you know, we should have maybe done this and that. Oh, maybe we should have rebounded more. And I think coaches like that can work, right? I think Steve Kerr is kind of like that in a way, and I really like Steve Kerr as a coach, because I think he's a fantastic X's and O's guy. He found a way to get Steph Curry those MVPs, and all right, that sounded bad, but Steph Curry deserved those MVPs.
I know what you're saying.
But Steve Kerr allowed him to to unleash his greatness, right?
Yes.
Every player was there to set screens for Steph, and it was a great team, and I think they were greatly coached by Steve Kerr. And I think that Brad has that same kind of style, but without the emotion, right? You've seen Steve Kerr lose his mind on the bench, right?
Yes.
We've seen that. I think Brad needs a little bit more of that emotion, I guess, because I do think he's a great coach. I think that there are flaws in, you know, some of the plays that are some of the options that he chooses on offense. On defense, I think Brad Stevens is fantastic. I think he runs a great defense.
You know what? I don't.
Really?
I really don't. You know what I mean? I think Marcus Smart, honestly, hides a lot of Brad Stevens' like defensive coaching deficiencies. I really do. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that, like, when the team is down and when the team is like, oh, like, we're in a desperate situation, it's a tie game, or we're down by 1 or we're up by 1, and if they make a 3,